Hey, how y'all doing? This is Hunt 919 Truth to Sports coming to you with another segment. I want to get right into it. I did one of these segments last year on the running backs. I'm just the type of person I care about the kids. I know there's obviously an agenda it looks like to get Shador that Heisman, so they're going to have him trying to put up a lot of numbers. But I think about the kids like the running backs who are rarely used. And up until Colorado State game, that was the first time they've had that many carries in a year and some change as far as football seasons are concerned. And I think Micah led them with 6 carries, if I'm not mistaken, if my stats serve me correctly. So this segment is titled Coach Flea. You need to fight for those running backs. So let me get right into it. But Coach Harrell is obviously the running backs coach. He's also the assistant head coach, which kind of trips me out because you would think he would have a little bit more power. But I mean, Dion makes all of the decisions. He is dealing with a situation where the quarterback is the coach's son, and obviously the coach's son is pushing his son. But as far as Coach Flea, he's coached running backs at Jackson State. He also coached running backs at Alabama State. He was a wide receivers coach at Florida Atlantic. He did play in the NFL before. He also played and coached at Howard. He coached at Howard for 5 seasons, which is where I first became familiar with him at because I go to the Howard games. My daughter goes there, so I'm very familiar with him as far as that aspect. So I'm saying that to say this that I think or I'm sure he knows what he's doing. But I made this again because I think about the kids and the team is bigger than Shador, it's bigger than Travis Hunter, it's bigger than Shiloh, and it's bigger than Coach Prime, or at least it's supposed to be, because the running backs it's a very important part of the game. Most teams, especially in the field, start off running. At least they used to. Now it's a lot more passing, but eventually you got to come back to the running backs. So again, I did a segment like this last year because I saw the writing on the wall. I knew that they was not using those running backs, and I figured that they will all leave, and they did all leave, including one of the guys they named as a starter. He still left even after being named as the unofficial starter last year. Dylan Edwards. So with that happening, you had all these new guys coming in, and if they're not careful, the same thing is going to happen. Micah will not stay there for 4 years, and those other running backs will get out of there if things don't change up. I think in all it was 19 carries, which is still not great, and I get into that a little bit more. But you would never keep running backs at Colorado if you don't use them. But it was great to see the running backs finally get used. But it's also, like I said, going into their second season for them to use them. Michael Welch is a freshman, and if you don't play him more, he's not going to stay for 4 years. One, because he doesn't have to. They can, of course, transfer, but it's just out of anger. Because if I know body language, and I did a lot of segments last year on body language, I did one on the offensive line and their body language towards Shador when they wasn't picking them up, et cetera, and all that ended up changing towards the year. Shador got more, nicer with them, taking them out to eat, et cetera, et cetera. So all that stuff does matter. But I look at the running backs. I'm telling you, I'm not nitpicking. They don't look happy. So you got to watch them the whole year because they've been underused. But again, like I said, it was being positive. It was great seeing them. I believe they'll lose Hayden. If they don't play Hayden, Hayden's not going to stay there either. And these guys are young, freshmen and sophomores. Augusta, he's a sophomore. I don't think he'll stay either if they remain being underused. And it is what it is. The only one who I know will stay will be Charlie Offerdall. I know I'm probably saying his name wrong, and I mean no disrespect, but I'm sure. I mean he's not. He's going to stay there and graduate. But again, everybody's cheering over the 9 carries and 65 yards for a Power 5 school, and that's really unacceptable for a football team that's playing in a Power 5 because they're going to need these running backs when Big 12 play starts. So I truly feel when things get heated again and the games get close, they're going to resort back to what they know, and that's Shador throwing the ball over and over and over. So I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm just looking at I've been watching this team for a while, and I know that when the games get tight again, they're going to go right back away from the run, and we're going to be wondering what happened to it again. So These are things that Coach Harrell and Coach Flea needs to be talking to Coach Prime about now, because he needs to let him know, regardless, we have to be consistent with these running backs and letting these guys run. Because, if I'm Coach Harrell, I'm going to be like, I'm going to have new guys every year. I'm going to be behind the gun every year. I will not have anybody consistent, and it's not going to feel good. That's why Charlie started the season off. That's why they talk so highly of him throughout the training camp during the fall, is because they were familiar with him. He was the only one left there that knew everything, knew how they operated. And but as you can see, Charlie is not a starter, not in the Power Five. He's not. So they need to be very careful of that. Coach Flea needs to really be in Coach Prime's ear about the success of that running back room this year, because you don't want to get a name to the recruits and to the transfers that there's no need for you to come here as a running back. This is not a destination for you. And I understand Coach Flea has to do what Coach Prime tells him, but as a coach, as a grown man, and as a coach with experience like he has, and even the head coaching experience, you can stand up for your for your team and for the room that you're running, which is the running backs. You can stand up for those kids, because in the long run, you do want to keep them. I believe that most productive lineup as far as depth would be Mike Welch as a starter. He's a talented running back, and I think not only starting him would give him confidence, it'll probably help you keep him for 4 years. Hayden, I know he's hurt right now, but he's very talented, and I would have him as my second running back. Then I will have Isaiah Augusta. He's talented as well, got a little speed behind him. He did suffer a fumble, but that's going to happen from time to time. And then Charlie Offerdall as the fourth running back. And I think that's going to be their best way to be successful. And I'm going to just give you a quick rundown on some of the teams and how many times they ran the ball. And I'm going to start with because Shedeur is so conscious of his pass yards. I'm going to tell you the guys that right now, as far as yards that are in front of him, you got Jason Hart at Ole Miss, you got Cameron Ward at Miami, and you got Josh Hoover at TCU. And those guys, Ole Miss ran the ball for 45 attempts. They still went 26 for 34 and 377 yards passing. So not only did they run a lot, 45 times, still got over 300 yards, almost 400 yards. Cameron Ward from Miami, I think they won 61-0. They rushed the ball 31 times. They went for 243 yards rushing, and then he still went 19 to 48 for 346 yards. So he almost passed the ball 50 times, but they ran the ball 30 times, almost 300 yards rushing, almost 400 yards passing. Josh Hoover at TCU, they had 54 rushes, 289 yards. He threw for 230 yards. He went 13 for 22. And then you had teams like Alabama, 34 rushes, Wisconsin, 41 rushes, Oregon State, which is where the ex-Colorado player is. It skips my mind right now. I'm going to do a segment on him too. But they rushed for 32 times. So my point is, if I'm in that running backs room and I come up with some of these stats to Coach Prime, like, listen, you got some of these guys doing anywhere from 32 to 45 times. We could still pass up to between 34 to 48 passes. We could still be around the 300, 350 range, 3 or 4 touchdowns, and everybody's happy. And not only will everybody be happy, our team would be good. Our team would be more complete. Where you can't just concentrate on Shedeur. You're going to have to concentrate on our receivers and our running game, and that could propel us to the upper, the 5 part or the top part of the Big 12. When you become one-dimensional in the Big 12, you're going to be in the comeback road all the time, because they're going to run the ball over and over and over and keep Shedeur off that field. So it's just something to think about. Like, for instance, against Colorado State, they could have run the clock out, but they chose to keep passing. That may be good for Shedeur, but how do you think the running backs feel? They're going to start questioning, why do you all have us here? This is that we up 28-9, and it's the end of the game, and you can't give us the ball to run the clock out. You still want Shedeur passing? So that may look good to Coach Prime. It may look good to some of you fans. I know it's deeper than that. I know what happens when everybody go to the locker room. I know what happens next week when those guys are like, Coach Flea, why were we not running the ball? We was up 28-6. The game was long over. They posed no threat to come back. Why were we not running the ball? and he has to answer to those kids. And then what happens is when the season's over, they're, especially now, they're going to the transfer portal, and all of those guys that we saw rushing are good enough to go to other schools. So not only are you coaching for this year or this game to win, you're also coaching, to keep kids at your school, and so you can actually build a program. So it's something to think about. So I think Coach Flea needs to really fight for these guys, fight for this running back room. Go to Coach Prime and talk to him. Come with some of these stats, just like I came with some of these stats, and I would still tell him we can rush the ball anywhere from 32 to 54 times, and we can still get 300 yards or 350 rush, and we can still keep Travis and all the receivers happy. I can keep my running room happy. We can keep kids. We can build a program, and we can be a solid team. It's just some of my thoughts. You can hit the comment section, tell me what you think. But it's been Hunt 919, Truth to Sports. Ride with me. It's been Hunt 919, Truth to Sports. Ride with me.